Adrian Moretti was once the accountant of one of New York's most feared mafia families. Known as the Shadow Man for his silence, precision, and flawless intellect. He never spilled blood, never made threats, but everyone knew what he could do with the ledgers he kept and the secrets he carried. That's why betrayal hurt him the most. Lorenzo Vitale, the head of the Vitale family, stole years of Adrian's work, projects that made the family appear legitimate, and claimed them as his own. Then he discarded Adrian like a liability. The final blow came when Lorenzo orchestrated the disappearance of Adrian's wife and young son. Adrian was left for dead in a basement, but somehow survived. From that day forward, Adrian Moretti ceased to exist. Only Ray Donovan remained, and Ray had one purpose: revenge. Ray spent years in London, Berlin, and eventually Chicago, living under false identities. He worked ordinary jobs, infiltrated other families, but always observed, studying the Vitale family's structure, vulnerabilities, and new leadership dynamics. He used every bit of information to craft a flawless plan. When he returned to New York, he was no longer the same man. Wearing a tailored suit, carrying a black notebook, and holding blueprints of vengeance for every Vitale member, he set his plan in motion. First target, Carlo Benedetti, Lorenzo's money launderer. Ray knew Carlo's greatest weakness: his greed. Years ago, Carlo had siphoned off funds through offshore accounts that Ray himself had set up. Ray had the evidence. He partnered with a journalist. The next morning, New York Times front-paged the leaked documents from Carlo's Cayman Islands accounts. Carlo was arrested. Lorenzo slammed his fist in fury. But what mattered most was this: Lorenzo now suspected betrayal from within. A witch hunt began inside the family. Ray's plan was working, because the best destruction always starts from within. The Vitale family no longer trusted each other. Every glance between them held doubt, as if searching for the traitor. Ray's second target, Matteo Vitale, Lorenzo's cousin, who managed the illegal operations. Ray had records of Matteo's illicit activities. One night, those details flooded underground forums. An anonymous tip reached the NYPD. Matteo was detained, not convicted, but his credibility within the family was shattered. Lorenzo no longer trusted him. Ray advanced silently while the foundation of the Vitale empire trembled. Even Lorenzo's own brother started questioning his orders. Ray was using fear, not violence, to corrode the family's trust from within. Slowly, that trust disintegrated. Ray was avenging his family not with weapons, but by turning their loyalty into paranoia. Their accounting systems collapsed, their logistics network faltered, the trust chain was broken. And yet, Ray hadn't even touched Lorenzo, because the final blow is always saved for last. To take everything from your enemy and leave them powerless and alone, that's the ultimate revenge. Ray contacted someone close to Lorenzo, Sofia Vitale, his daughter. Sofia had once admired Adrian in her youth, but believed him long gone. When Ray appeared before her, she didn't recognize him. But something felt familiar. Ray gained her trust gradually. He didn't tell her everything. Instead, he let her see the truth with her own eyes. He became a mirror made of silence. As Sofia watched her father's dark dealings unfold, her faith in him crumbled. One night, she texted Ray, "Trust me, I'll help you get inside." Ray discovered that Lorenzo wasn't just a local mafia boss. He had ties to South American cartels and European money laundering chains. These weren't just new targets. They were clues to Lorenzo's real power. Ray activated old friends to dismantle that network. In Germany, Raphael, an old high school friend, worked at a pork company, and helped sabotage shipping lines tied to the Vitale family. In Brazil, a banker secretly gave Ray access to digital records linking Lorenzo to major cartel agreements. Ray compiled all the evidence and quietly delivered it to international investigative agencies. Now, not only Lorenzo, but all his alliances were in danger. Ray's masterstroke came when he exposed an insider, a mole feeding information to Lorenzo. This mole was Marco, Lorenzo's personal bodyguard. But Ray had anticipated betrayal. He fed false data, planted misleading documents, and used Marco to misguide Lorenzo. As a result, Lorenzo's every move became predictable and controlled. Meanwhile, public leaks weakened Lorenzo's circle even more. No one trusted him. Suspicion plagued the family, and Ray was pulling every string. With all the pieces in place, it was time for Ray to act. He had dismantled Lorenzo's empire, won Sophia's loyalty, and exposed everything to the public. But this wasn't just about destruction. Ray began building his own system, not a shadowy network, but a professional, organized structure with integrity. No longer operating as Ray Donovan, he became a whispered name, a quiet legend. Financial experts, lawyers, tech specialists, all of them people wronged by corrupt systems, joined him. His team wasn't a mafia. It was the silent hand of justice. But Ray knew he couldn't escape the weight of his past. As Lorenzo's fall made headlines, Ray held a press conference. He said, "This isn't a power play, it's closure, but I'm not innocent. I lived in shadows. Now it's time to rewrite the system." And on that day, Ray Donovan voluntarily turned himself in. The press, the public, even his enemies were stunned. But his movement continued. Because he hadn't just taken revenge, he'd left behind a manifesto for justice. Perhaps the most powerful moment was his final message to Sophia before surrendering. "I walked through the dark, but now it's time to answer in the light." Ray was no longer just a man. He was an idea, and ideas cannot be imprisoned. What if it were you? Betrayed by those you trusted, erased from the world you built, and left to survive in silence. Would you vanish forever, or rise from the shadows like Ray did? Do you believe justice can be rebuilt outside the system? Share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe your words will give someone else the strength to rise too. Because sometimes one voice becomes a revolution.